hearing that Xianxia and others were brought here by Fei-ji to rescue him. Qiantong was very grateful and thankful. The three Saint King stage naturally didn't dare to delay, and telling how they get separated when they're forced to pass through the black and white space formation gate. After listening that the old lady died tragically under the puppet's giant hands, Qiantong was stunned, faintly blaming himself. In a short while, Xianxia made the story clear, and Qiantong frowned. So, where are they now? You don't know? Xianxia and others slowly shook their heads. Qiantong laughed bitterly. This time, the old man has affected you. Now there is no way out here. Even if you return the same way, I'm afraid you won't find the way back. What do we do then? Xianxia asked anxiously. There are only two ways now. Qiantong sighed gently. Two solution? Did you see the space law formation over there? Qiantong pointed his finger, and following the direction he pointed, Xianxia and others suddenly found that there was a complete space law formation at the end of the palace. It should be able to lead to the outside. If you are sure to get rid of these puppets, you can try it, but the old man does not recommend you to do this. Other puppets are just fine, but this wolf-shaped puppet is extremely fast. Even the old man is not sure if I can beat it in speed. Xianxia and the others had a battle with a puppet before. How can they be entangled in this kind of thing at this moment? Even if the puppets here are not as good as the previous ones, with the number of puppets here, even Xianxia's scalp tingled. What's more, although the space law formation there is intact, it still takes a little time to start. This delay of time is enough for these puppets to be a problem. Under such circumstances, who dares to act rashly? Beside that, we can just wait. When the old Fei comes over, we can find a way together. Qiantong noticed the frustration and despair of Kai and Du Cece, and couldn't help but say something to comfort them. Relax. If it is not possible, the old man will take action to delay these puppets and give you time to escape. Never. Kai was shocked and hurriedly said, Elder Qian can't do this. Now the internal conflicts in the Shadow Moon Palace are unceasing. Elder Qian has to see the big picture. If you fall here, then the three of us are sinners forever. We can't afford these responsibilities. Du Cece nodded abruptly. Qiantong chuckled and said freely, this is also his last result. Rest assured, the old man will not do this. I still want to live for a few more years. Only when he said this did Kai let it go. The route was gone, the road was blocked, and the three Saint Kings had no choice but to meditate cross-legged, sometimes chatting with Qiantong to pass the time. After a little chat, Xianxia learned that the stone tablet was actually engraved with exquisite refinery. Although no one can understand the ancient text, if the item refiner expert is nearby, he will be enlightened by it, which is very helpful for the promotion of item refining. Now that the middle-aged man has a certain understanding, he will personally be able to refine a void-grade secret treasure. Once it can be refined, he will become a new generation of void-grade item refining expert in the Shadow Moon Palace. With the assistance of this person, together with the means and prestige of Qiantong, the Shadow Moon Palace can calm down the internal troubles, and it will be a breeze to restore the calm again. The time passed quickly, and it also made everyone anxious, and did not know what happened to Fei-ji and others. There was no trace of them for the next half-month. After half a month of rest and recuperation, all the injuries sustained by Xianxia and the other two people in the previous battle with the puppet were completely healed. On this day, Xianxia was still meditating, suddenly realized that there was a strange energy fluctuation around him, and immediately opened his eyes and felt it in amazement. At the same time, Qiantong also noticed and spiritual mind was released. However, Kai and Du Cece and others did not respond. But at the next moment, they showed a horrified look, because the palace where they and others were located was shaking violently, and the dust and debris fell from the sky, as if the entire ancient ruins had become unstable. This is... Qiantong's eyes widened as if he had found something. Xianxia was also surprised. He didn't know what Qiantong discovered, but he realized that in this ancient ruin, there was a throbbing spatial force. He cultivated this power, and he was very clear about this strange fluctuation. Rumbling, violent noises came from all directions, like a landslide, and the end came. The middle-aged man beside Kai Du-cece and Xianxia glanced around, panicked. The dozens of puppets that had always gathered around Xianxia also had a change at this moment, and each puppet's eyes flashed red, and they stepped back slowly in fear. The change came so fast that young Kai didn't have time to investigate anything. The space around him actually came with an unimaginable force of repulsion, wrapping everyone's body, making it difficult for people to breathe. Young Kai was not surprised but rejoiced because of this feeling. He had encountered it once before. The current situation is exactly the same as what he felt when the flowing flame sand field closed down a few years ago. Could it be that? Xianxia's thoughts flew, and at this moment, the world's spiritual energy in the air suddenly rushed towards one place, and to the naked eye, those auras converged into a group, and immediately, a ray of light suddenly blasted from that aura. In a flash, the light came to the top of everyone's head, and a burst of twists and turns formed a huge palm. Young Kai raised his eyebrows, his face ecstatic. Because this palm, which was formed by the auras, looked so familiar. It was the jade palm that belonged to a woman who was once seen in the flowing flame sand field at that time. However, this flourishing jade palm has been magnified numerous times. At that time, this jade palm wanted to throw young Kai out of flowing flame sandy field, but was blocked by a piece of Star Emperor token he occasionally received, which allowed young Kai to remain in it for 6 months after the flowing flame sand field was closed. With his previous experience, he was naturally calm. The jade palm was under the hood, holding young Kai in the palm of her hand and squeezed hard. During the whole process, young Kai did not make any resistance. Seeing that Kai and Du-cece were all looking as if they were standing up, Saint Yuan seemed to want to resist, and quickly reminded, "Don't panic, we can go out." The words fell, and the jade palm burst apart. Young Kai only felt the violent repulsion from the power of the space around him. With a flower in front of him, the whole person had disappeared in place. After being reminded by young Kai and Du-cece both froze for a moment. At this moment of time, the two jade palms also held them. After the jade palm exploded, the two disappeared. This scene also happened to Xianxia and the middle-aged item refining master, but also to somebody else in the ancient ruins, such as Feijitu and others. In the blink of an eye, there is no living person in the whole ancient ruins. Somewhere thousands of miles away from Fallen Emperor Mountain, a figure emerged strangely. After a while, the figure stood firm. It was young Kai, who was repelled by the rules of the ancient ruins of the world. Almost at the same time as he appeared, there were silhouettes around him one after another. Everyone looked around, and after seeing each other's faces, Kai shouted with joy, "Senior Fei, Senior Ning." Feijitu's eyes popped, revealing a happy look. "You also come out?" "Yeah, I don't know what happened. I suddenly broke away from the ancient ruins and came here." "Hey, what about Senior Wen?" Kai suddenly discovered that the man with the surname Wen disappeared. Feijitu and Ning Xianxia both looked dark, and sighed deeply. Seeing this scene, other people immediately understood that the martial artist with the surname of Wen probably died in the ancient ruins. "My old friend." Ning Xianxia didn't find the trace of the old woman, and he looked shocked. Kai smiled bitterly. The senior also fell. Ning Xianxia froze for a while, and after a while he smiled bitterly. Fate. On this trip to the ancient ruins, 4 of them are void return stage and 2 died. Instead, the 4 Saint Kings were all safe and out of trouble, including Lian Guang and unharmed, but these days followed Feijitu and others. Suffering from the disaster, it looks a little slack. "Old Jian, your luck is so big, so you can't even die." Feijitu looked at Qiantong coldly. Qiantong didn't answer, but anyone could see the meaning of self-blame in his eyes. Feijitu saw this, and he no longer used words to provoke him. But this time it was inexplicable how they get out of trouble. Young Kai and others have been staying in that palace without any movement. Naturally, it is not because of them. Thinking about it, it must be that Feijitu and others have touched the restrictions, which led to the rejection of the entire people in the ancient ruins. And all the people present, although only young Kai entered the flowing flame sand field, they naturally also heard about some conditions in the flowing flame sand field, including the presence of the jade palm, which was formed by the convergence of energy when it was closed. The situation just now is exactly the same as the situation when the flowing flame sand field was closed. Is there any connection between the two? Not only did Yang Kai frown and thought secretly, the same was true for several Void Return stage masters. It is probably only Kai He and Du Cece who did not understand the situation. Just when Xiantong opened his mouth and wanted to ask something, a sudden rumbling sound came from a faraway place. All of a sudden, everyone was unsteady, their faces changed greatly, and they looked horribly toward the source of the sound. Is there Fallen Emperor Mountain over there? Du Cece girl exclaimed. It was indeed Fallen Emperor Mountain. Even if it is far away, everyone can still see a trace of Fallen Emperor Mountain. At this moment, the rumbling sound came from the inside of Fallen Emperor Mountain, as if at this moment, there was a huge change over there. Can cause such a noise, one can imagine how violent the movement there is. And just now, all the martial artists came out of the ancient ruins. Is the change at this moment related to what happened just now? To be continued.